Alright, welcome back to my glitch sound design tutorial series. Glad to finally be getting back to this. It's been a little while. So today I will be working with granular synthesis, which I think is probably the richest vein when it comes to glitch sound design. I imagine it will not be the last episode that I work with granular synthesis, and even some of the techniques that I will work with in other episodes kind of boil down to granular synthesis, like turning a sample into a wavetable or working with a sample in a sampler. A lot of the time it ends up kind of functioning quite similar to granular synthesis. Yeah, I guess just a quick introduction to granular synthesis. I imagine if you're watching this video, you are probably already familiar with granular synthesis, but just in case, for anyone who isn't, let me just pull in a sample here. So granular synthesis works with samples, or, well, there's also like granular resynthesis, and also pitch shifting can kind of be granular synthesis sometimes, but in the sense that we're using it here. You put a sample into a granular synthesizer, and it pulls out little segments of that sample, which are generally called grains, and layers them, loops them, manipulates them in different ways. It's an extremely versatile form of synthesis. It's a lot of fun to explore, and Faceplant's granular synthesizer is very good. So some basic controls. You have your like start position here. You have position randomization. So like if I'm playing this here, it's just playing in this little section here. But if I turn up the randomization, it's playing little grains from all over the place. You have your grain envelope, your amplitude envelope. So let me just turn this down so you can hear it. You can hear it's like increasing in volume over the course of the grain, as opposed to that. You have your grain density, how many grains are playing at any given time. And then you have more randomization options, the timing. I believe, at least in Faceplant, it basically evenly spaces the grains when there are multiple grains playing concurrently. So you can turn up the randomization so they're not all spaced evenly. So you can hear this is a very even rhythm, whereas if I start turning this up, kind of falls apart. And here the grains are kind of jumbled together. Pitch randomization, level randomization, pan randomization. This, I probably won't be using the level, pitch, or pan randomization much here, or the reverse, but they can all be fun to play with, especially the pan, I think. Yeah, I think that's about it. For selecting a sample for glitch sound design, anyway, I generally find transient rich samples with a lot of texture, a lot of varied textures, works well. Sorry if I sound a little stuffy. I don't know if I'm still recovering from my cold from last weekend or if I'm just having seasonal allergies or what, but so yes, like these aluminum foil samples, they're very crunchy, textural, lots of stuff to pull out. Ice samples, that's another good one. Oops. Oh yeah, I forgot. There was some like really resonant thing in the mic that I was recording. I had to cut out this band here, I think. Still sounds pretty good though. Probably work well. Maybe not for glitch sound design, although I'm sure you could still use it, but it'd be good in a granular synth. So once you have your granular synth, you have your sample that you want to put into it. I guess we can just kind of get started building it. For grain density, it's, you know, everything I say here is, you know, dependent on your specific use case, the tone you're going for, and all that, because glitchy sounds is not like one. There's not just one kind of glitchy sounds. You know, there's an incredible amount of variation that you can go for. So for what I'm building right here, I want usually just like one grain playing at a time, and I like having it slightly under one because you get a slight gap between the grains. So like if I turn this way down, you can see this gap between the grains. And so if I have it up here where there's not really that much of an audible gap, but there is still a tiny gap, I think that works well for like giving the compressor something to freak out about, basically. For the grain envelope, I generally like having just like a square envelope, no attack, no release, just on and off. But you know, you can have like a kind of upward scoop sort of thing. You can have a more like transient clicky kind of thing. You know, just play around with it. You can randomize every single one of these things if you want. You could have it like every grain has a different envelope. Let me bring this down a bit. Something like that. I'll be working with the position randomization in a bit. For the timing randomization, I'm not going to use it too much here, because I generally want a kind of repeating rhythm, even if that rhythm is constantly changing tempo. I want there to be this sort of even pace most of the time. But like if you can play around with like cranking up the timing to get this really nice noisy effect to it. Let me put a compressor here to crank this up a bit. You know, it's like you can make the glitching start glitching, basically. So that can be a fun thing to play around with. If you like really crank this up, you can start getting some really noisy sounds from it. You're like, this is a very, very different kind of glitchy sound to what I'm primarily working on here, but like you could do some really cool stuff with this as well. You could probably do some cool stuff because it's freaking out the compressor a bit. Kind of like emphasizing that the compressor ducking and releasing and all. I don't know. There's just so much cool stuff to explore with this. Okay. Let me get a randomizer. Random modulator. Turn up the rate quite a bit here. I'm not actually going to be directly modulating anything with this. We'll get a remap. Set it to 25%-ish. And this I will use for randomizing or controlling the position randomization and the position itself. So I'll have this. It's hard to hear because there's nothing at the very start of the sample, so it's silent there. So you can hear it's like jumping around between this random scattered grains and then going back to its home, basically. And so what I want to do is have this then trigger another random modulator that will change where that home is, essentially. So every time it goes up, starts randomizing the position, comes back down to home, and home has changed. What now? Let's get another thing that will change the grain density. So I'll get another remap. Put that there. Oh, no, not the grain density. The grain time, sorry. Oh, but I do not want to modulate that directly. I want to have this trigger another random modulator. That go to about there, maybe. So there is this control here. Automatically adjust the length of the grains relative to the played key. So I'm playing this at C4 right now, so it's the same whether this is on or off. Just because the root note is set to C4. However, if I played this at C3, it's rate shifted down an octave. The sample takes twice as long to play. So it's going to lengthen the envelope to capture the same segment of the sample that it would at C4. So if I play this down at like C0, well, that's kind of hard to hear. you can hear the grains are much longer. And if I go up, you can barely hear that as well. The grains are very fast. So, it's, you know, yet another instance of what specifically are you wanting to do with it? What kind of sound are you going for? I think I'll probably just be playing this at C. I actually am going to modulate the pitch a little later on, so that would actually change it. So, but I think I do want that to change the length of the grains. So I will leave this on here, but just know that if you find like you're playing it at a low pitch and the grains are very slow, you might want to turn that off. Okay. So I will get another one. I'll actually do what I was just talking about. We'll get another remap. And this remap, I'll do 50%, and then have this trigger a random modulator. Oops. This trigger a random modulator that will go to another remap that will be a little complex than the others. Do something like this. So it'll be a bipolar remap. Should I particularly map? Do that. And then I will have this control the master pitch by an octave. I generally find octave jumps are the best because it's, especially when you have this thing on, it is directly doubling or halving the grain length, which is just, I don't know. That generally sounds good to me. So let's hear that. Can even go to like 24 to further emphasize it. I might actually a little less likely, so it changes a little less often. Okay. That's probably about good. And then I'm gonna get something to play around with the grain density a bit as well, but the original version of this that I did, I had it controlled by the same thing that is controlling the start position, or it's going into a remap that controls the density. I'm not sure if I want to do that though. How should I do it? Okay, I'm gonna get a random modulator that will go to up to 30 grains. I don't know, that high, something like this maybe. Or actually, you know what? We'll go into a remap. Big surprise there. In this remap, I will kind of scoop like this. So it's sort of, it can go up to the highest value, but it sort of has like a preference for lower values. Something like that. That's probably good. Have that control this, and then I'll have a random modulator. Actually, I'll have it controlled by the same one. So I'll get a remap. And rather than, I'm gonna kind of flip this around because other things care about higher values. So I'm gonna have this care about lower values. Probably not that much though. That might even be too much. Not sure. I'll just test it. So I'll get the same random modulator that's controlling a lot of this. Have that control that, and then have this control the depth of this random modulator. Let's hear that. Hear it all the way on. Oh, actually, you know what? And I'm gonna just, rather than having this going by itself, I'm going to have that trigger that. So we'll just change it each time it turns on to avoid this potentially changing while the depth is at 100. Okay, that should be good. What else? I think that's it for this one. But what I'm gonna do now is, oh, actually, you know what? No. Well, it doesn't matter. I'll copy this. The thing I was just thinking though is, I might like to have the timing randomized every once in a while. I at this point, I think it's already busy enough that I'm not gonna mess around with that. I'll just save that for another episode. So this one, I'm gonna keep all the modulations the same. I'm just gonna, oh, I need to turn this down. I don't know why that was so high. Yeah, okay, that should be good. I'll keep all the modulations the same. I'm just going to change their values. I'll keep this the same. Actually, you know what? I'll bring this down to like 30%. Doesn't really matter because I'm going to be changing out the sample anyway, but oh, and so I have this, so it's randomizing the start position, the home, between 0 and 50%, and then this is going between 0 and 50%. So it's always staying within the length of the sample, basically. You don't have to do this. If you don't, like, if you crank these both to 100, what you might have happen is that the grains will kind of get cut off at the end sometimes. If, like, the start position is at 99%, the grain envelope, actually, you know what, I should do this. I had these turned down in the original patch, and I forgot why. Or I turned down the start position depth. But forgot that I had turned these down to basically give room, 1% of room for the grain length, which isn't even necessarily enough, but it's fine if it gets cut off at the end. It just adds to the glitchy nature of things, basically. Yeah, you know, like if you have the position or the home at 100%, you don't really have any length for the grain itself, and also the grain the position randomization isn't doing anything because it's starting at 100%. There's nowhere to go. So it's just something to bear in mind. Okay, so for this second one, I am going to get a sound of tuning one of my auto harps. Actually, you know what? Real quick here. Let me just do this. I think I would still like to use this one, but I do want to capture one other little thing here to use in this. What is going on here? Give me my grid. But also, I don't know why it is not stopping playing. I'm going to quickly record something from my mic here. You'll hear me echo probably. I have a can something. I'm just gonna record cracking that open real quick. There we go. So let me try using this in here. I like the oh, I need to turn this off because it's echoing for me. I liked the tuning auto harp sound in this, but I was curious to hear what this would sound like. Pop that in there. This one. I don't know. I mean, there are things to like about it, I guess. And you know, with a little more work, I'm sure you could, like, if you even just did something like this. Just limited this thing to hell and back. Yeah, I mean, there's cool stuff to do with it, certainly. But I think I'm still gonna go with this tuning auto harp clip. I'm gonna crank the level up and then hard clip it, just to try to. Unfortunately, there isn't a. I really wish there was like a compressor step-in or whatever they're called. These things that actually go into the generators. It'd be really nice to have. I don't want to drive it too much. Just something like that to try to boost it a bit, since there are these quieter sections and then louder transients. Ooh. I mean, you see why I picked this one now. That sounds pretty fantastic. So, I mean, like, you hear this clip. This is just nothing. This isn't even something I was intending to record. It was just, I was recording my auto harp. So I had stuff recording, and I was tuning it. And I was like, hey, there's, you know, some kind of neat movement texture in this. So I saved it, and then it works great here. So, yeah, just play around with, like, literally anything you have. You'll find cool stuff to do with it. But, yeah, I'm going to change around the values of some of these things. Like, see, that's at 27. Let me... 17 to 277 maybe. Means tweak it a little bit, I guess. that should be good. And then I am just going to make a good old random switch thing. 50% chance remap. Should I guess I'll have this triggered by this main random generator or random modulator as well. Just so it happens in time with everything. Never mind. I don't want that. It's too fast. Is there no way to disconnect the remap from this side? Okay, I'll just something like that's probably good. 50%. That there. And then I will bring this down. Drop this. Bring this up. Not as high as the other one, just because I have higher level and some distortion on it. Something like that, probably. Let's hear that. Oh, back on. I guess I will actually bring this one. We'll bring this one back up to about where the other one is. It's like about -12, I think. Yeah. Oh, also, you know what? With this, since there are more of these transients in the latter half, I might... This only goes positive. So I might bring this up like 80. And this down to like 19. Just to get some of these more clicky transients more in the range of where the start position can be. Okay. Next, I had originally done this with just a plain filter. However, I remembered that I really liked the metallic nonlinear filter, so I'm going to try using that here. A high pass here. Probably not that much distortion. Something like that. And an audio follower. This is not something I normally do. However, for whatever reason, the first time I built this patch, I tried it and I liked the sound it gave, so I'm gonna do it again here. So something that I wasn't sure about when you're using the audio follower, the way I would interpret it is if you set lane 1, that would be what's coming out of lane 1. However, that does not appear to be the case. as you can see, this is the level, or the levels you're seeing from lane 1. If I go to lane 2, which doesn't have anything on it, if it was just getting the output of the lane, it should be the same as lane 1. This is notably higher. If I turn this up more, it gets even higher. So I believe what you're selecting here is actually, you're kind of tapping into the same input that whatever lane you have selected here is getting. So if you select lane 1, it's all of the input that lane 1 is getting. If you select lane 2, it's all of the input that lane 2 is getting. So I think I want to select this because I want this to follow after the compressor. Like that, and then have it control the cutoff. Can you modulate these? Oh, you can. Oh, there's some fun to be had there. Modulating the attack and release values, but I'm just gonna go with something like this, I think. Transient shaper. A bit. And of course, disperser. All right. Oh, no. In fact, I might actually here. Next, I am going to use something that I have already built. However, I basically showed, kind of the start of how you can build it in the last video, because it is using one of the delay buffers. So basically, quick recap on how to do that. Get a gain, get a delay, have a macro or something, control the gain from 0 to 100%, feedback 0 to 100, mix 0 to 100. So you can oh, and the mix of this. No, sorry. This should be 100. Should drop down to 0. Because you don't want any input going into the delay while it is running. There we go. So then you can even well, okay. I kind of did this in a shoddy way, but I'm gonna get a 50% chance here. I'll have macro 2 control this, controls this, because you basically want this to either be at 0 or 100%. And then I can also have this control or trigger a random modulator that can change the delay time. So each time you turn it on, the buffer length is different. That. I think I went over this in more detail in the last video, but just in case you hadn't seen that, basically a quick demo of how you can build one of these. So I saved this as a preset and then went into multipass, turned on all these, dragged all of these band selectors down, snap heap, delay buffer. I have more stuff controlling the oh yes, I have a random control that's randomly turning the delay buffer on and off, and then another thing that's controlling the delay time. I should probably have this controlled by this, but it doesn't really matter. You can play around with it. So I got that, put one of them in each of the bands, change the values around on the rates and the default delay time and all that, so they're not all working the same. And then random modulation controlling the band frequency cutoffs. So these things are jumping around constantly. So you can see the finished version of it here. You can see all these band selectors are jumping around. These are jumping around. I really should have this triggered by that, but it doesn't really matter too much here. So let's hear that. You know, I should do... Might be fun to have a version of this that these macros, I don't have something controlling them internally. I can control them externally and turn all of the delay buffers on and off from in here. Let me do that actually. Just a copy of this and well, I can also do this at the same time. I can turn this down, have this, trigger that, get rid of this. This. Okay. this down, that there, those down, that. Riveting, I know. I just like, I want to go into a video like with some you know, degree of like structure. I don't want to just be like rambling around, messing around with stuff. Unless like that's specifically the kind of video that I want to make. But you know, things will strike my fancy, so that I have to actually make them. Okay, so now I'm gonna get this macro, map it to all of these. So let's hear this. Why is that not working? Oh, is the mix turned down? Yes. There we go. That's neat. I'll save this. 5-band delay buffer manual trigger. Something like that. I don't know if that's actually what I want to use here or not, though. I think I might just turn down the chance on these, and then while I'm here I might as well just do that. Just to make it a little less busy, basically. Okay. Okay. I think that's good. I don't know if there's anything else I want to do with it. Alright, I thought of a couple other things to talk about as I was editing the video. Not that I do that much editing, but just trimming a little bit. So one thing, the sound as is currently. Oh, I didn't notice I have the pan randomization up. Oh, that's another thing though. I could pan these a little bit side to side. That'd be cool. They're kind of busy right now, so we can try to make them less busy in some ways. bringing this down itself could, I mean, it's kind of controlling the base rate of change of just about everything in this patch, so making it a bit less hectic can be good. I could bring the sustain down on the transient shaper to kind of have it focus more on the clicky transient bits and cut out some of the, I don't know, other stuff. You know, it gives you a different sound. It's not... It has a different... It would have a different use. But, yeah, that's another thing you can try. You can bring the grain density down some more. Especially with having this 5-band delay buffer that can let you, I don't know, get more of a sustained sound out of little choppy bits with low grain density. Yeah, something like that could be good. I don't know. Yeah, just a couple ways of trimming down the chaos a bit. Because you do need the chaos, but it can be a bit much sometimes. So you want to have ways of toning that down from time to time. Alright, just a warning, the next part of this video ended up quite a bit longer than I had intended it to be. I had meant it to just kind of be a little addendum to the rest of the video, but ended up playing around with stuff for quite a bit longer than expected and building this thing. It's mostly tangential to the rest of the video. I do cover a little bit of stuff related to this patch, but mostly I'm talking about frequency shifters and weird stuff you can do with them. So, yeah. Hope you enjoy. Another thing, kind of unrelated to this specific patch, but just a fun technique to know about and play around with, is the strange interaction between frequency shifters and OTT. Or I guess it's not really an interaction. It's just that OTT pulls out some strange behaviors exhibited by frequency shifters. So this frequency shifter is just set at 0 hertz. No frequency shifting is taking place. However, you will notice that it is not the same. It's a little hard to hear here because it's so chaotic, but if you just get like noise. What was that? Maybe it was one of my neighbors. Where is my favorite noise palette? There it is. Okay, if you could just get a noise generator. So that's normal. That's normal. If you start blending between them, you get this weird phase cancellation kind of stuff going on. You can also kind of create disperser type effects with frequency shifters. There's lots of weird stuff to do with them. But one interesting thing you can do with them is that they'll, well, and you can even kind of notice this sometimes, that like a frequency shifter will like ring out. I don't know if this is exactly the same. Getting too in depth here now. Get vital. Make a little noise pluck. Oh, you can see it more than you can hear it here. You can see this little residual tail that the frequency shifter leaves. Sometimes it's like very noticeable. Like it'll really ring out like a resonator. Maybe, yeah, like. Yeah, you can hear that a little more now. See how it sort of rings out. I'm guessing it's probably related to whatever aspect of frequency shifters that causes that behavior, but something you can do is if you get that and then you stack a bunch of OTTs on top of it, that'll really pull out that residual tail from the frequency shifter. Oh, let me turn this back down. And if you use that after a glitchy sound, you can get this fun little glitchy tail. Which I'm just thinking now, what I should do is I should get Snap Heap. I just meant this to be a little addendum, but now I'm getting too far into it. Because I don't want this all active while the patch is playing. So what I can do is get this envelope and then that's too much. Have this control the mix. Okay, yeah, that's working well. So let me get a multipass. They have an OTT type preset here. Not. It isn't. I don't think it's quite a like one-to-one recreation of OTT, but it's completely serviceable as one. So what might be fun to do here, since the frequency of the frequency shifter affects how this sort of glitchy tail thing sounds. Actually, you know what? Let me this a little bit. Increase the upward compression, increase the snap, bit of a higher tone. Sure, up the mids a little bit, I guess, whatever. And then just make a ton of them. Is that 3, 4, 5? One more. You know what I should maybe do is actually get an audio follower. Since there's going to be sometimes a delay between the sound from this ending, or a delay from me releasing the key and the sound from this ending due to the delay buffer. So I can have this audio follower control the gain instead. And go into a remap. 50%. Okay, that should be good. Of this control. There we go. So now I want to have this thing change the frequency of the frequency shifter. And I could even move these all down to the end. I could even stack a couple of them. I could even run them in parallel. Stack another one on top of that. Let's do that. So copy these. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I think I should bring these down though. Maybe even just 0.5. kind of neat. Save this as envelope controlled freak shift OTT glitcher. There we go. But yeah, basically this ended up being a much longer section than I had intended, because I was meaning to just show like, hey, you can put a frequency shifter in here and some OTTs to get this kind of cool effect after after the sound. But yeah, this is a kind of cool little snap heap to have. You know, it might be fun to let's move this down. I'm gonna have to like put a warning at the start of this section to be like, warning, go into this at your own risk, because it's gonna be a lot of me just playing around with stuff. But 20% panning. But let me do some compression. Ooh, go. Shape the transient a little bit. And then, let's do a couple of them. So you know what? I gotta shift this all around again. Want to also put a compressor at the end of this. And let's a couple of these. I think my computer's actually, oh, it's not thrilled about this at this point. Oh, that's kind of cool. What I'm thinking though is that maybe on these I should actually have it controlled by the envelope instead on these first two, and then have only the last one follow the envelope. Oh, that's pretty. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I guess use this patch if you want. Just kind of evolved over the past 20 minutes, but oh yeah, anyway. That was cool, I guess. I didn't really intend to build this whole thing out, but yeah, just know frequency shifters are kind of weird. I still don't really understand how they work. I need to understand how they work better. But yeah, you can do weird stuff with them. Stacking frequency shifters, getting the delta, which you can get in Reaper by alt-clicking the mix knob here. You get the delta of the signal. So it's the input signal minus the output signal. So if something is completely, yeah, if something is completely unchanged, the delta should be silent. So like, if I get this, delta here should be silent. Yeah. But it's, I don't know, deltas are also another interesting thing to play around with. I might have to do more stuff with them in another episode, but yeah, frequency shifters are weird, and you can pull out some cool glitchy sounds from them. I guess that's about it. Yeah, thanks for watching. Oh, and if you are into glitch sound design kind of stuff like this, I would extremely highly recommend Clipping's new album, Dead Channel Sky. Just came out like a week ago, and I have listened to it many, many times since then. It is extremely good. I'm very, very excited to see them this summer. They are an experimental rap group. Their past two albums, or their previous two albums, were both horror themed, which is very up my alley. And this most recent album is like cyberpunk themed. I really love it. It's extremely good. A couple times, like as I've been working on this here, some little rhythm of the grains has reminded me of something from the album. So if you like this kind of thing at all, you'll probably like that album. It's very good. But yeah, I think that is probably about it for this one anyway. There's definitely more to explore when it comes to granular synthesis. And we'll have to do that another time. All right, thanks for watching.